Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 314, and today we're doing battle with Fiora Braum Ramp. And so Fiora Braum Ramp, this is a pretty exciting deck to me. Here over the recency of the 4.2 patch, I've been playing an absolute ton of Fiora. And I was pretty excited to see another Fiora deck turn up. If you're not familiar with what I like to do, I've been playing a lot of PnZ Fiora that has the Darkin Harps in it. But if you want to think in the aspect of playing best of three, the probable best deck that you could play right now is Jayce Lux. And if you want to include Jayce Lux in a best of three lineup, then you can't play PnZ Fiora. But I haven't scrapped that idea. Fiora is absolutely fantastic, and I was really excited to see this deck turn up and to come in and play it. And so before we really talk about it, I do want to show you how I found it. I don't have credit for who initially put this together, but I do like to go over to Legna's site on occasion. That's LLORR-stats.com. You can just search for LOR Legna. That's a little bit easier to find it. And then up at the top, there is the meta section. And so you just go to the meta stats. This will give you a kind of quick overview of how the format looks in terms of the number of games played across the past week, the most popular decks, how their win rate is holding up. You can see that Jayce Lux we were talking about at the top spot here, where it has both the most games played and a pretty exceptional win rate at 55%. But one of the kind of interesting things to take a peek at is the fresh stats. Those are the stats from just the past day. And I do like to come in here and see, it gives you a better kind of idea and feel what is currently running through the meta. And I like to sort this by win rate on occasion. And that's where we start to find the Braum Fiora. As we sort this by win rate, surprisingly has a 67% win rate across 100 games, which is starting to be the place to where you have to take note, right? If this was only 20 games at a 67% win rate, or if it's just some rando content creator that's hanging out at the top of the ladder and just playing some bullshit decks and crushing people in Diamond, that's what we're about to hopefully go and do, right? But those you have to take with a little bit of grain of salt, but having this nice win rate over the course of 100 games is pretty interesting. And so you can drop the little check down arrows and pick up the various deck lists however you want to do it. It looks like this is quite popular over in APAC at the moment. But the interesting things that this deck can do, it has a lot of usage coming out of the 4.2 patch. It has the blocking Badger Bear as just a nice solid early game play, but the Badger Bear does quite a bit of work in terms of stalling out the game until we can get some ramp happening. And so this deck is going to kind of take two separate directions, if you will. Number one will be, okay, I'm playing the ramp deck today, so we have access to the new card in Winter's Touch, along with the Wild Mysticism to help the ramp package get going. With the ramp cards themselves, we have the 8 mana Anaacka, Tiana, Cythria, and Hearthblood Mender, all of these very fantastic units. And then in the expensive land of spells, there's Judgment buried in the ice and War Mother's Call. And so it is a very strong late game package that we're hoping to ramp up towards. And this is the kind of idea that you saw maybe like 6 months ago. I believe Mega Mogwai came down with a Demacia-based ramp deck looking to do similar things with Tiana, Cythria, and the War Mother's Call. And so that's a very strong package. And also having just this small unit package in here does make things like Anaacka better. And so what you're hopefully going to be seeing today is if we do have Anaacka on board, we'll attack. Within the top 6 cards of our deck, we'll either summon Tiana, which is going to give us a rally, which we can then attack again, or we'll summon Cythria, which is just going to double up the attack and health of all of our units on the board. And so a lot of real surprise power that can come out of these Anaacka attacks. But if we don't take this path number one with the ramp, we do still have a very strong unit-based board control package between the Fiora and Braum holding down the fort, the blocking Badger Bear just coming at us with a ton of stats, and then the likes of Darkin Spear to help boost those units up. And so as we've been kind of talking about the intangible aspects of Fiora, right? This is the word I like to use to describe it. It's one of those terms that you hear in sports parlance quite a bit. You know, what makes Patrick Mahomes such a great quarterback? It's not the 60 to 80 hours a week he devotes to the game. It's not that absolute cannon of an arm that he has. it's the intangibles that he has, right? It's his game smarts, it's his locker room skills, it's that rising to the occasion when adversity strikes. It's those intangible things that you can't really put a number on that really helps carry him to greatness. And that's what a lot of happens with Fiora, right? We are not a Fiora OTK deck. We aren't playing a bunch of combat tricks to go big with this Fiora, but that's not to say that our opponents know what we have in hand. They don't know what we're sitting on. They don't know if they need to play around Judgment. They don't know if we have Troll Chance or Three Sisters or something to help and pop off with this Fiora. And so the opponent is going to have to play a little bit differently with the threat of what Fiora does. But we'll have the perfect information on our end as to whether or not we're going to be able to take her into the lands of OTK. And so, pretty powerful stuff, pretty interesting. And so, before we dive into the games, I do want to say this is first and foremost a ramp deck. We did just talk about Fiora a lot, but think of Fiora as just another ramp card, right? If we get to play Fiora, opponent has to, say, maybe skip out on an attack because Fiora is threatening level ups, or if opponent has to alter their curve to keep mana up for a combat trick or whatnot, that may not be like physical forms of ramp, right? We may not be generating those physical mana crystals, but that virtual card advantage that we get out of Fiora may be giving us an extra turn of time to where it functions as a sort of pseudo ramp spell. And so that's the deck. That's what we're doing battle with today. Let's go ahead and jump on in, see if we can't make our way on up to Masters. And so where are we at? Anaacka summons Tiana, bringing the deck up to battle. Got a kitty here ready to hang out. She says, "What up, world? What up, YouTube? I'm ready to hang." Let's jump on in. Getting the kitties. It's the real strength that we have here. Bringing the kitties to the forefront. Feels good, man. Feels good. Kitty time. All right, so the battles begin. First and foremost, up against the old elites, and I'm curious to see how this goes. This is a space to where if they have a sort of slow draw to come at us, then we get to come up with our ramp big time. They don't have the means needed to do very much interaction, and so one big unit can really turn the tide of the game. So we did get a double ramp start here. The amount that we take this ramp on is going to, of course, depend on what the opponent does. If the opponent brings one of these curves at us to where they have a 1-drop into a 2-drop into a 3-drop with a 0-cost elite after the fact, then we're going to have to get this Hearthblood Mender on the board as quick as we can. But if they have one of these slower draws to where they play the Battlesmith on turn 2 and then say like a Vanguard Demacia for Demacia generator on turn 3, that's fairly slow, and we can still look to just double ramp into that. So we'll see what happens, see if opponent's even here. we might just be talking into the land of theory and opponent's not actually in the game, but we'll have to see what turns up. Right. Could be a fast start. Old Cytherea of the Clouds coming at us. Not the Cytherea of the Clouds. Yeah, it is Cytherea of Cloudfield. I guess she's from the Clouds. We got the Lady of the Clouds. He's got the Cytherea of the Cloud Field. Ooh, now we can just pop off on the off curve with the Troll Scavenger. I hate this card so much. I'm gonna go ahead and put it out there. This card is something that I've hated since the times of Expedition. I think it's just a very poor card design, but it fits fantastically into our curve now, right? We get to play it on turn 2. Now that Winter's Touch exists as a 4-mana ramp spell, with that 1 bank from the first turn, we can now add the Winter's Touch on 3, and then that'll let us expand out here on turn 4, whether or not it's a Fiora or a Hearthblood Mender. We'll have to wait and decide, but I think I'm okay to just give up on the turn. It feels like he's probably going to play another card, but if we only underbank 1 mana for the turn, it's not that big of a deal. Now we got a Badger Bear coming in. Looks good. We can start to drop the ramp this turn. None of his units are that scary. Ranger's Resolve, bit of a bummer. I think that might have been a mistake of an attack, right? I think I really need to kind of slow my roll here a bit and say, okay, we're the control deck, and if this game just drags on and on and on and we get to Cytherea, we're going to win, right? And so the only thing we should really have to be worrying about from opponent here is going to be something like a a champion strength. And as we're coming out of this game with like already having harsh winds in hand, I don't think we have to worry about the champion strength that much. We have a very fantastic answer to it. So here, I think we'll just prevent the most damage that we can. If he has another Ranger's Resolve, this is still a pretty good block onto the Ram Hound since it'll get to take it down, but I think this looks good. All right, Tiana ready to party next turn. She says, I used to be an elite. They used to let me carry the tag. I don't have it anymore, but I used to. All right, not bad. So he can technically drop a champion strength next turn, but with the harsh winds, I do feel pretty safe for the round, especially given that we could look to single combat before and then harsh winds after. This should be pretty devastating for our opponent here.
This will be quick. So much for your justice. I'll do my best.
All right, so let's just get some blocks in. All we care about here is not dying. Could have done better blocks. Well, yeah, we could have gotten in front of the Vanguard Redeemer, I guess, instead of the Cytherea, but still feels like a pretty good space to be in. All right, and then I'm looking to add Anaacka to the board. This is going to be the only way we can get 2 units on the board for the turn. So I think he's going to be our safe add. I mean, I guess we could have Wild Mysticism'd into Braum, but we have a lot of good options that could come out of this hit. Anaacka into Cytherea? Not bad. Not bad. I hope you're ready to block, my dude. I hope you're ready to block. And now next turn we have Tiana and the Wild Mysticism. Feels pretty good. Feels pretty good. Oh man, what a day. What a day. All right, that feels good. I don't know how good you're feeling, but I'm feeling quite good right now. Look at this. Look at this mountain of stats. Say Jarvan, I just don't give a fuck. Oh, what a day, my dudes. What a day. All right. Nice flip, Jarvan. No one cares. Again, here come the elites.
I never did, and it brought me here.
Feels good, man. Let's see how big this stuff can get. We got 2 more summons from the Anaacka. It's gonna be choice. Gonna be choice. Did he already quit? Did he give up? You gotta let us get the attack in, bro. Aw, man. We can summon out another Cytherea and a Tiana just to get the full highlight reel. He gave up. He put his phone in the toilet. He said, "Old Bustus denied me from hitting the Masters today with his gigantic Cythereas." Oh, he didn't even let us attack. Come on, dude. Learn to have fun. Learn to have fun.
Fine work, Demacians.
Fine work, Demacians. You tell him, Cytherea. Good stuff. Oh, man, I love it when it all comes together in the first game. You never get to know, man. You never know how long it's going to take for your awesome concepts to come together. I really love it when it happens right in the first one. All right, next battle up against Jax Ornn. Not really the start we're looking for here. I want to hit the ramp as hard as we can in this match because they aren't super good at going aggro on us. And so there's a lot of draws out of Jax Ornn to where it's like, okay, here's a Jax, attack for 3, I don't care. On turn 4, we'll play a random 4 attack unit. and maybe forge once along the way, attack for like 7. That's nowhere near fast enough to kill you, and so it gives us time to just go bigger than doing whatever the Jax deck is trying to do. So it feels pretty good. Nice pickup with the Troll Scavenger, Cithria Winter's Touch again. But the big one coming out of this hand is Buried in the Ice. Having Buried in the Ice is a big shutdown for Jax. Having the Troll Scavenger is a big shutdown for Jax as well. Can't actually block here. If he attacks, it's too good. Right, I don't want to lose our Scavenger to a combat trick, but I think we're still safe to attack on the way back. All right, the Forge onto Jax. You got it. We can do some forging as well now, right? Say, I see you, Hearthblood Mender. Many strengths coming in from the combat cook. So we have the choice here, right? We have access to both Braum single combat and the Badger Bear. So if we want to play on curve, we're going to look at the Badger Bear single combat. But that's not like the most spectacular round we could really do, right? We can do, I guess we can say block. Oh no, none of this is good in front of Jax. Okay, so let's just add Braum. I was trying to envision this way to where we get to kill both Jax and the Favored Artisan. And it doesn't exist, so can't look towards that. But we can look to put a bit of attack power onto Braum if we want. Make him a little bit more combat relevant. I think I dig it. As it stands, he's strong enough to take down the combat cook now, assuming it doesn't get another forge. Talk about getting another forge. I love it, my dude. I like what you're about. Alright, Jax gets the flip. Fair enough. See what we can do. Could look to Buried in the Ice on this next turn, but his board just isn't quite strong enough. I think we would rather see him just play Ornn, and then when he plays Ornn, we'll play Buried in Ice. And so I'm looking to kind of give up on that for the round. Concerted Strike was a big draw. Are we still big enough to take down Jax? We are. If we want to Concerted Strike out of this. Badger Bear just like isn't a very compelling unit on this board. I kind of like the idea of keeping the single combat mana back, so that if something goes wrong with the Concerted Strike, then we can still look to single combat afterwards. So I'm going to keep passing. If he doesn't attack, then fine. This could be a touch of a mistake now that Jax is going to grow, but I think it's okay. That's not okay. We should have just gotten in front of that Jax. Maybe it's not that bad. We just have to go with the Concerted Strike and the single combat. So we want the single combat on the stack first. Then we can follow up with the Concerted Strike. Should have just gone for the Concerted Strike first. But reasonably powerful board now. We have the Buried in Ice to react to whatever he does. We can put another Forge onto Braum, and then Braum can still be quite combat relevant even against these big units. But I think what we're hoping to have happen is we're going to Buried in the Ice on the opposing turn and then play Cithria 2 turns from now. So we should be safe from Ornn, right? I don't think he ever just plays Ornn on this turn. And then if he does, how bad is it for us? I think if we're going to be real, it's pretty bad. Let's just go ahead and get in an attack, add some dudes to the board, and then try and Buried next turn.
My heroic last stands never seem to stick. By the forge.
Alright, hopefully no fish fights. This is a little dangerous dropping the the Mender onto Braum. Okay, we should be fine now. See if he tries to drop that Ornn next turn. If we have enough stats to just deal with Braum, that's not a big deal. But we would, of course, love to just bury all of his units. There we go. GG, my friend. We GGing too early? I have to worry if opponent has a buried in ice of their own. Right? What do we have? 6? 15? We're 1 damage short if we don't go for Cythria. Alright, well, I guess I'm glad we didn't emote or anything, but... Tiana turns up. Alright, she can save the day. Better lucky than good, they say. Better lucky than good. Alright. Man, I miss my emotes. God, it's a good spot to drop a cupcake, you know? Good spot to drop a cupcake.
Superior tactics, iron will.
Alright, not bad. Next battle. I do really like this 2-drop into Winter's Touch kind of thing. I gotta think on that a little more in the old brain piece. I haven't put too much work into playing with the Winter's Touch. It's one of those cards where you just kind of go like, okay, we're gonna just put this into the Trundlemere deck and call it a day. But I think I need to give it a little bit more consideration, seeing how good it is with these 2-drops. Twisted Fate Bilgewater, or this Twisted Fate Bilgewater Targon. This is going to be the combo deck. It's going to be they try to get the new Mirai thing that when you play a spell, it puts a powder keg on the board, and then you put the Divine Judgment, the Kale card, onto your powder keg so that they can't die, and then whenever you play a spell, it doesn't go away. And so if you get 3 or 4 powder kegs on the board, you can chain off 2 or 3 or 4 copies of 2 or 3 or 4 copies of something like Warning Shot, and then just end the game. But we'll see what we can do. Try and get in front of some of this mess. I'm a little leery to go ahead and bring in the Darkin Spear. It's not spectacular here by any means. Like, this isn't a matchup that we really want to just be playing for value. And so I feel a little bad taking this stance of to where, you know, this is a very value-esque play of putting just stats onto the Badger Bear. But you gotta do something with that mana. I'm going to leave the powder kegs up. As it stands, we do have the Concerted Strike to shoot it down if we need to. And it's not currently scary, right? If he blocks and still has a Make It Rain, that would be a good enough thing to take down the Badger Bear, but I think he's looking to build up this powder keg a little bit more. Interesting. Why would he do this but not say block with Shell Shocker? That's weird. I've made my assessment, and I say it's weird. So I'm gonna just go ahead and heal the 1 health unit. Like, I get that we have this Darkin Speared Badger Bear over here, and putting the Forge onto the equipment is good, but I feel like we're in a space to where I feel like we're in a space to where it's not important. Like, this equipment's never coming back to our hand in a relevant fashion, and so let's just go ahead and protect the other unit from a Make It Rain or a Twisted Fate, a 1-cost way to interact with it. As we say this, we're going to attack with the Badger Bear into these 2 attack units and lose it and get the equipment back in our hand. But at that point, on our next attack token, we should realistically be attacking with the Anaacka and not wanting that +2 stats. What do we got? A red card, Twisted Fate's going to kill the singular Badger Bear. That's okay. So let's get ourselves into combat. We'll see what happens. I mean, now that he's got the Mirai on board, and we can kill it because we have Concerted Strike, it should hopefully be too much on the following turn for the Mirai to combo us out. And so he is draining our units pretty low. He can find himself in a spot to where a second Twisted Fate's going to come pretty close to full clearing our board, but he shouldn't be able to combo kill us next turn. We'll see how this plays out. We'll have the mana to put the Darkened Spear onto something, so we can ideally protect one of these Badger Bears and then next turn drop the Anaacka. I guess, well, we don't have any way around it, right? We only have 7 mana this turn. I start to worry that we're going to drop Anaacka and then he's going to have Twisted Fate, but we don't have the tools to play around that. What you got for us, Dudeheim? Something cool? I'm sure it's gonna be cool. Get some of those divine judgments or something. Doing a little bit of finger math. That's why I don't play combo decks like this. My finger math is nowhere near good enough. It's like I only have 2 or 3 fingers. I have the full 10. Don't worry about my health. But it's like one of those things, you know. Interesting, just passing. I'm curious if he passes again. Like getting Braum or Fiora onto the board isn't. Oh, he gave up? No. Okay. I was gonna say getting the Fiora or the Braum on board isn't really important here. So what's a guy bringing in Make It Rains? It's not bad. Not bad. He's already dropping the GG. Apparently you're unable to win without that unit. Alright, good stuff. Next battle upon us. What a dumb deck. It reminds me, I've never played it. I'm never going to play that deck. It's fucking dumb. But there was this era of Magic to where there was a deck called Eggs. Eggs played all of these one-cost artifacts. You had cards that would let... I think this particular deck played the thing that lets you sacrifice an artifact to get 2 mana back, or I can't remember entirely how it worked, but you could like sacrifice the artifacts for mana, and then you would play another card that lets you return all of your artifacts from your graveyard to the board, and then you would start to get into these infinite combos to where you just had this recurring cycle of returning all the artifacts from your graveyard to the board, and then there was a 1 mana artifact that would let you deal 2 damage. And so over the course of all these interactive combos of cycling the cards back to the board, you would eventually just bring forth that thing the requisite number of times to kill off your opponent. And so the key cards eventually got banned, and the reasoning for the ban wasn't so much that the deck was strong. It was just that it was so fucking boring to play against. Your opponent would be playing like a 10-minute chess match all by themselves, but you couldn't just like stop. You had to watch them go through this fucking ridiculous iteration of all these cards, because if your opponent messed up slightly, then they could actually break the combo throughout the course of cycling through it. And so Wizard said, this has got to go. We aren't allowing this dumb thing to hang out anymore. But where it was kind of interesting and where this is going is one of the magical pros is named Stanislav Sivka. I think he still runs around in the circles of competitive gaming. I know that he made a run in Hearthstone for a while, but there was about as much money in Hearthstone as there was in things like Runeterra now. And he was able to be a professional poker player. He's just got that mind. But he's also like a chess grandmaster. Like the dude games, okay? The dude games. And he won a Magic Pro Tour with it. And since he won the Pro Tour, all the Friday Night Magicians decided that they should pick up what is probably the best deck in the format. But, you know, it's the best deck in the format if you're Stanislav Sivka. It's not the best deck in the format if you're random Joe that just picked up the deck list off the internet and now you're looking to go battle your friends at Friday Night Magic. And it was just a real boon to the format, given that people sucked with it and it took so long for everything to kind of combo off. We're getting rambly with this situation now, but I imagine that's how that Mirai Warden deck feels. I feel like there's like 4 people in the world that can play it with some real skill and some real grit. And then everybody else just doesn't have what it takes. And they probably don't have a ton of business trying to pilot it. All right, let's see how this goes, though. He's got his 4-attack challenger on the board. I'd like to slowly climb our units up to be big enough to deal with this thing, but we'll see how this plays out. I figured we would be able to get a single combat here. It's look like what we're about to get. Don't have a way to stop the contraption at this point, but we've got a little bit of protection for our units. All right, and do we want to advertise that we have a second spear? I think it's okay. I'm going to want to come in and actually reforge the second spear next turn, I believe. So we'll still have some good attacks coming at him. And then 2 turns from now, we're just going to Anaacka.
The forge we create and we mend. I will be worthy.
All right, here comes the big dude squad coming at you. I feel pretty safe here. I mean, he's probably going to pop off the small mender, but we're at this magical spot up against the Jayce deck of having 4 health. It's such a big deal. What are you at? 5 damage to the enemy. That's okay. We're definitely going to just get Anaacka on board here. I'm curious to see if he still attacks into our 6/8. I mean, he should be fairly safe to go about it, but there's definitely opportunity for that to fail. But we're looking really strong on this upcoming turn, right? I guess he can play the burst card draw thing to potentially get out of this combat, but all of the units in our deck should present a lethal, even the Badger Bear, right? So our 3 small units, the Badger Bear, the Mender, the other Badger Bear, should bring in a lethal amount of damage. Adam. So right, the idea here is if he plays the new card, Improvise, whatever the 6-mana draw thing is, that'll burst off the Forge of Tomorrow and give him a blocker. So he could potentially get out of it with the card draw and then having a Hex Splitterator, but I feel like it's probably best to just present the lethal there instead of adding more cards to the board. All right, though. We got him. We boomed him real hard. Oh, we made it into Masters. Go us. I don't know. I just get used to being here in the other account. And so I guess we rolled over. Go us. All right, though. So fresh battle up against Jax Renekton. And so I feel like this is going to be fairly similar to that Jax Ornn match, to where we could probably be pretty greedy with our ramp cards. And so we'll get rid of Tiana. We'll get rid of the Mender. See if we can't find an early game unit to go along with these. think we'll be okay. We did pick up that buried in ice. And the Badger Bear. So what did he hit? Combat reel. Not bad. Nice 5 damage swing coming through. I'm not going to play the Badger Bear here. I'm just going to ramp. There's not a ton of cards that he can play that I'm particularly scared about here. And then starting to have, say, 7 mana turns next turn, we can do Winter's Touch Badger Bear. We can look to Badger Bear single combat. If he just opens for 5, awesome. You know, that's one of the best things we could have happen here. And so no concerns on that front. So he goes Forsaken Bakai. He does still have the space to, say, put a like a Renekton on the board, which would be fairly painful. But I like the way the Feral Mystic lines up with this. As long as he doesn't have Renekton, we're looking pretty good, being able to block something and then single combat something else. So it looks like he'll probably... I wonder if he hooks our Mystic with Jax because of the quick attack, or if he goes with the Rockhopper. Yeah, it's a little worse for us. But we just need to prevent the damage at this point. Fall to 9. Okay. Got 7 mana now. It's tempting seeing the War Mother's Call, but we can play it two turns from here. I'm leaning towards dropping Braum, letting Braum eat the Roiling Sands, and then dropping Badger Bear afterwards. This is a good opportunity to get a bunch of units off of the board. Kind of at worst, we should have 3 units on the board, right? We get the Badger Bear down, and then the Braum hook should get us to a space to where we get an additional dude. Okay, I'm not going to take this one very greedy. It's just too easy for him to have a meaningful combat trick. Right, if we go and hook in the Rockhopper so we can attack with the Badger Bear, that's asking for failure. As it stands with this, we can, get out of the turn only taking 3 or 4 damage.
And everything in between.
So with this, I'm leaning towards the Mysticism. We're going to have the 3 bank going into the following turn for the War Mother's Call. Man, maybe we messed this up. Yeah, I don't know. We're 1 mana short of playing Buried in the Ice this turn, but it feels like... was he going to hook Braum? Ooh, I like that. I like that. It just feels like we had to get 2 units down last turn. That's double damage thing. Looks like we're dead. Right. If we bring one of these, we're 1 short. Move you over here. 1 shorter. Okay. GG. I think that was still okay. Like I mean, maybe... I don't know. The Badger Bear didn't turn out to be particularly good, right? Maybe with that turn we should have... taking the 3 bank, like we play Braum. We have to play Braum there so we can use Braum to get an additional unit on the board. But then we could have 3 banked and then potentially gotten the win from there. So if he plays his thing, if he plays his Ruin Runner, we get to Buried in Ice. It only pops the spell shield on the Ruin Runner, but we have the 6 damage prevent. And then I think if he open attacked there, we would have been safe. So, interesting. But lessons learned, on to the next battle. What do we got? These aren't ramp cards. Gonna get rid of all that stuff. When you see the Karma deck turn up, you just say, give me all the ramp. Give me 3. Give me 3 of them. they aren't gonna kill us anytime soon. Didn't find any, sad day. We just gotta go big with the Troll Scavengers, I guess. Say, you thought that... You thought the blocking Badger Bear was an annoying amount of stats for 3 mana. Welcome to seeing Troll Scavenger. What a dumb card. My thing with the Behold mechanic, I'm kind of okay with it. I don't really like it. I hated it in Expedition, given that the way it commonly went in Expedition was that you didn't have the tools to consistently hit Behold. And so we need to stop and think about a card like, what's his name? We need to think of a card like Trundle. You know, Trundle is fantastic in the terms of Behold, given that he lets us play a cheap card that's good that also gives us an expensive card. And so he has the tools you need to activate the ability, because if you want to reasonably hit your unit on turn 2, you have to start playing like 7 and 8 expensive cards. And while we can do that in Constructed, you know, our deck is designed to do the ramp. Having that hit in a limited format was just abysmal. You had to, you know, typically just play like 2 or 3 ramp cards, and then from that point forward, you would be able to, or I'm sorry, you play 2 or 3 expensive cards, and you couldn't risk being in that spot to where you would draw like 7 expensive cards. And so I just hated the Scavenger in that format, but it's not quite the same space anymore. All right, I'm getting rambly. We'll focus in on the game. Getting close to some of this stuff. We go up to 9 next turn. We can War Mother's Call, but this is a deck that potentially has Deny in it. I think I'm still on board with it, though. This hot Braum on Braum action. You say, I punch you for 0, you punch me for 0. The 0 punches coming through over and over again. I dig it. We're a mana short of War Mother's Call next turn. I did just realize I was thinking we were going to be double ramping here. It's okay, but it's definitely off. Can play Tiana, though. That's kind of exciting. So bad at math. I'm glad. I'm glad people out there are getting to see how bad it is. It's not, you know, everybody in the world can't be a math wizard, and so don't feel bad if you're not good at adding the small numbers together. Says, oh shit, I wasn't expecting a rally. Tiana coming through is a little on the scary side of the spectrum. Okay. Still got a good attack. And then he's got 4 cards in hand. He'll have 5 the next turn. I think I feel pretty good about the War Mother's Call. It's just one of these spots to where if it goes wrong, then I think we're still ahead. Oh, never mind. Never mind, Anaacka turned up. Feel the rush, ew. Maybe we should have gone for the War Mother's Call. Why does that only cost like 2 mana? Oh, he played that one thing. Okay. Alright, we're about to get fucked. About to get fucked. Let's see. Do we even have anything positive here? We can survive for a bit. We have a Harsh Winds to make it through the next turn. War Mother's Call can come in 2 turns from now. With his board as it is, he can't play a ton of scary stuff, right? Like a second Feel the Rush doesn't really do anything since he only has 1 space on the board. You do have to worry about things like Winter's Breath doubling up. There you have it. That'll be enough to end us. But I don't think the game was exactly over at that point. Oof. GG. But I'm curious how I feel about that, right? He got to play the Feel the Rush for 6 mana. Like this is my problem with that card that reduces the cost of everything in your deck. Like it is nice to like play it and then be able to deep meditation and know that you're drawing cards that are going to be on the cheap, but is like that sequence of stuff really necessary in terms of getting a Feel the Rush on the board? And it doesn't strike me as being that special. I know we just lost to it and stuff, but it feels like you're playing a bunch of cards that you don't need to just make something happen a little bit cheaper. I mean, I get that there's got to be times to where you get that 6 mana Feel the Rush and you haven't done any ramping, but like that one unit costs like 7 mana, right? The thing that shrinks the cost of everything, and so it doesn't feel like you're really cheating that far ahead. I don't know. Maybe my analysis is off base, but seems dumb if you ask me. Seems dumb. You gonna get elusive, bro? Darkin Aegis, you got it. Go ahead and move it forward. Push it into the attack zone. There's no reason to not do it. We don't need to think about this too long here, Whisper Lover. I wonder if Whisper Lover knows Daddy Lover 13. We haven't seen Daddy Lover 13 in a while. I love it every time that name pops up. I just want to know the history behind it. If it's if it's just some kind of weird sex thing that we don't actually need to know about, or if it's just some thing that a person came up with when they were, you're 12 years old and tasked with making your online username, and you make something bad like Daddy Lover 13, and then you then you realize you're kind of stuck with it because you don't want to change it because all your friends already know who you are, or if it's kind of the way that we came up with Butt Stuff 420, as to where it's a name that you imagine a 13-year-old would come out and make, and it should bring some anger upon the opponents when they lose, when they get beat down by the old Butt Stuff 420. And so I'm curious. But game number 8 is upon us. We are about to hit the final battle. Let's see if we can't have a good one here. See if we can't do something cool. Summon some Tianas and stuff. I'm excited. Up against Action Varus. Okay. So what do we got? We got a double ramp hand. That's something that we should be able to take into Action Varus. I think the Mender is just too expensive as well. He says, F you, buddy. You think I'm too expensive, I'm going to come back doubled up. But again, like Action Varus does have some semi-aggressive draws. You can play the random 1-drop into Varus, into something else, and get some stats on the board, but it's like playing those Jax decks. It's by no means aggressive enough for us to really worry about, and so we can keep these fairly greedy double ramp hands. No, we did pick up Judgment for the turn. I just assumed the Troll Scavenger was done being a card for the rest of the game, but he turned up just in time. Appreciate it, bro. Appreciate it. All right, then I think we're just looking to ramp again. I know we picked up another Scavenger, but let's get the ramps in while the getting's good. All right. Action's ready for battle. Swing your glaive, my friend. Swing it hard, swing it strong. You just have to open. If he doesn't open and we get Braum down, that seems exceptionally good. I'm a little worried about Braum on this board, but so he has the guaranteed hook into our unit now, then Braum can't block the 4 attacker. Yeah, it's okay. Now, do we want to keep this mana banked up? Going into next turn, we're going to have 8. I'm looking to definitely do some Hearthblood Mending. So if we play a Hearthblood Mender, that's going to leave us with a 6 total mana. I think we can pass. See what happens. Otherwise, we're just playing the Scavenger for the turn. It doesn't do a whole lot. Where are you dropping the Lucky Find, my dude? Directly onto action. Deposit directly on action is what it should read. No Sivers coming out of this deck. I thought these decks typically played 3 action, 2 Varus, 1 Sivir. So it's kind of odd seeing it like that. Alright, load him up. Alright, well, let's see where this gets us. Now we're just kind of looking at this space to where we're going to hook something with Braum. Ideally, the Braum hook leads to him being damaged and not dead. We can play the Take Heart, and then next turn we can look to Judgment. A 5 damage Judgment off of Braum. Pretty good. Not going to be enough to kill action. I actually don't remember how this interaction works. I think this is one of those spaces as to where there was a bit of controversy in how it worked, and I don't remember how that actually played out. This is definitely one of these spots where I wish we could have checked the Oracle's Eye, bursting the spell onto our dude. I guess with that sequence we should have seen the action flip with the strike on the stack if we had to worry about it. And then it's the second strike from action that would have made him flip. Okay, that makes sense. I do still wish there was a way that you could say, like, hold the control button and put a burst spell onto the stack and then look at the Oracle's Eye and see how it's going to turn up. I love the Oracle's Eye so much. It's such a absolutely fantastic feature. But if you're listening at home... in turn, if you're listening at home, this is a feature I would love to have. Alright, so let's get some stuff out here. Alright, so it pops the spell shield. Gotcha. Well, let's just pull it back then, right? let's just pull it back. Heads up, dude. Shit's about to get real. hope you don't anticipate things like Judgment coming in now. We probably should have flipped these. There's a very real chance the action is big enough, or I'm sorry, the Varus is big enough to kill our Braum. And action's a little bit more limited. If action had the Absolver, that would only take him up to 11. So, could have been something there. Now do we want to give up on Judgment, right? We're not going to get killed. He's only killing off 2 units. We get to play Mender, Mysticism, and then next turn play Cytheria. I think I'm okay with just letting this happen. If we drop the Judgment and then he has the 2 mana prevent thing, we are just in such a shitty spot then. We're about to have these massive old overwhelm units out here. Makes me feel safe. Do have to worry about stuff like grappling hooks coming in. I think we want to put the Hearthblood Mender onto the Mighty Poro so that the stats get spread out a little bit. But wouldn't be surprised to see like a grappling hook come down, kill something. A Desert Duel, kill something. Oh, beautiful.
His fire burns bright in our hearts.
And Cytheria. It's got to be enough, right? Gotta be enough. Look at all them stats. God, it feels so good. Feels so good, man. I don't know how you all like to spend your time, but looking at all these stats, I could definitely spend a few hours just admiring. It's like looking at a nice painting or something, you know? All right, he's digging. He's doing some card draw, looking for the answer. Is there an answer, my friend? Is there an answer? Questionable. Would he go for the vulnerable and a zero cost thing? Okay. I don't think we care about that. I was surprised to not see bonus health come down. Ooh, that seems bad, my friend. I guess quicksand would be the common way out of this.
I'll clear the way.
We want to put more attack onto his good cards. Maybe we'll put more damage onto Varus. Well, Varus is going to kill our units either way. Let's move action down and Minder. Okay. We would just like to see his champions die here and stuff. Cool. All right. All right. So not a bad set of battles. They were fun. We had a good win rate. We carried ourselves into Masters with it. Let's pull it up and talk about this a little bit more. And so, definitely a powerful strategy. Again, these ramp cards are quite good. I liked basically everything in the deck except the Fioras. Like, I was really hype about the kind of things that Fiora could do, the intangibles that she brings. But it feels like a card that you're just not going to have a ton of opportunity to actually use. And as I play through games like this, I'm curious if it's not better spent being something like a Petrosite Broadwing, given how strong those turns were, to where we play a unit on turn 2, and then we play a ramp on turn 3, and then on turn 4 we get to kind of continue on with stuff. I just worry that there's just like not enough early stuff to do. You're going to run into too many of these games to where you double ramp but don't have any units, or you have a lot of those hands where we had like double ramp Hearthblood Mender and you couldn't really do anything. And I feel like Fiora doesn't really answer the problem in that space, and she doesn't like make up for it when she's good, right? I just don't think that without the kind of supporting cast that she needs, that she's really going to be able to pull off enough. But she does have that 4 health, which is exceptionally important in this format, and that does kind of tie in with this Badger Bear and Scavenger. And so that would be like the kind of first place I would look if I was thinking to make some edits. Is I kind of like the idea of the Broadwing, especially in the sense that, like, if you have these curves to where you play the Broadwing on 2, the ramp on 3, and then on turn 4, you maybe just put a Darkened Spear on it. But Darkened Spear is enough to be quite good there, and then you still have a 2-bank into the next turn. You have the mana to play a single combat. I think I'm kind of interested in that sense a little bit more than Fiora, but definitely have to give it some testing and seeing how it goes. Otherwise, pretty happy with everything in here. You could potentially look to cut Judgment if you're going to take Fiora out of the deck. I could certainly see that being a thing. Looking to pick up an additional copy of Buried in the Ice wouldn't hurt. The way these games went, War Mother's Call wasn't even really that necessary. I feel like Anaacka did everything that the War Mother's Call would have done, but I understand its place in a format like this. It's just the kind of worry I have with cards like War Mother's Call and Feel the Rush is that the decks that they're good against tend to be packing denies. And so if we're in the spot to where we make that 12 mana investment and have it get denied, then the game is typically just lost. And so not 100% sold there, but I do kind of get behind just playing 1 copy. If we were playing a deck that had 3 copies, I might have to kind of reassess, but I think it's kind of okay here. But nonetheless, that was good stuff. That was a very powerful deck. We'll have to give this a little bit more credence and thought, as there was a lot of power really coming out of this. I feel like as the 4.2 patch came out, it was very easy to evaluate that blocking Badger Bear was going to be exceptionally good. It was very easy to evaluate that improvise. I keep calling it improvise. I can't remember what it is. The 6-mana PnZ spell. It was very clear that was going to be good, and they were. They've really taken off. But the only thing that has been done with the Winter's Touch up to this point is just slapping it into the Trundlemere decks. And I think there's definitely some space to kind of come out and reevaluate ramp as we get access to these new tools. Now, I do kind of have the feeling that there are like 5 or 6 ramp cards in the game. I think what we're going to see as the rotation comes up is that the Winter's Touch is going to be here because they just released it. Something like Catalyst of the Aeons may stick. I'm not certain. And then I think the rest of the stuff is just going to go. I don't feel like there's a lot of value in leaving just like 1,000 ramp cards in the game. And I think that it really kind of limits the design spaces to where you say, okay, I have a 0/4/4 drop, I have this 0/3 Behold 2 drop, I have the thing that puts 2 health onto a unit, I have Winter's Touch, I have Catalyst of the Aeons, I have the 8-cost spell. Like, I feel like that was a problem space in Hearthstone as to where you had like multiple ramp options and you got to pick just the 2 best ones. I feel like if you're going to have like a high powered one like Winter's Touch, there has to be a little bit less strength in the remaining ramp cards. And so, interested to see how that plays out. But nonetheless, a good set of games. I had fun with that. I hope you did too, because that will do it for us today. And so, hope everyone enjoyed the video. Hope you maybe learned a thing or two along the way and had a good time watching. This is Bust, and we thank you for being here.